Okay, so here's a quick status update with where I'm at with the Corsair jet. Now, as you saw in my last video of this Corsair, it was flying around pretty good. However, it was definitely a little bit too heavy for the power system. So I decided to scale the whole plane down and see if that made things better. So this is the new version of the jet. It's probably about 10 to 15% smaller than the original one. And the other thing that I did was I used the Dollar Tree foam board, which is a lot lighter. In fact, has about half the weight of the other foam board that I was using. So this plane got smaller and lighter. Now the other thing that I wanted to test out was to see how a 4-cell battery would push this plane. It did a good job pushing this plane faster, but I thought a 4-cell battery would push this plane around really fast. Unfortunately, as I was building this second prototype, I mounted the motor a little bit too far back. So that meant that I didn't have quite enough room to move my battery far back enough if I wanted to put a 4-cell on, which is heavier, to still let this plane balance out. So I haven't had the chance to test that out yet. A couple other things I tried on this plane, which I didn't do on this plane, was actually building in a little battery tray here. So if you look down the fuselage of this plane, the battery actually almost disappears. It's sort of got its own built-in little pocket here. So I was hoping that that would make it a little bit more streamlined. I think it might have done just that. Now, although this battery tray is a little bit harder to build, I think I'll be actually incorporating this on my future planes that I build, because it helps to streamline the air as it goes over some of the electronics and make it faster. Now, another thing that I did on this jet is to basically give the wing an airfoil shape. Now, I did that basically with paper bag type material. It didn't come out quite as good as I was hoping, so I think I'm going to scrap this idea. What I did on the previous jet was to use packing tape and slowly layer that one strip by one strip at a time to make an actual airfoil shape over the wing as it went over this foam board spar that I had running down the wing. Now, this actually turned out better. I think it's a little bit heavier, but it's a nicer, cleaner airfoil shape. An idea occurred to me as I was messing around with this plane. Now, you've all probably heard of the KF airfoil, which is basically a second layer on top of the wing with a step down about halfway through. And I thought, well, since this paper bag thing didn't work out quite as good as I was hoping, I'm going to take it off, just like this. And as you can see, this exposes the spar that I have running down the wing. So now what I'm going to do is just take packing tape and just go from the leading edge up to the top of the spar here and let it drop off right behind the wing. Hopefully this will sort of do something like the KF airfoil and create some more lift, while at the same time making it really easy to build. So I'll finish making that little modification to the wing, which I might call the Mikey's RC airfoil. And then I'll go ahead and move this motor farther back. Actually, earlier on in this video I mentioned that it was too far back. It needs to be farther back so that I can put a heavier battery on the nose here, like a 4-cell. And we're going to see how this plane flies. Okay, so I'm out at the field here and I made the modifications to the plane, which was basically taking off the paper that I had on top of the wings. And now if you look really closely, you can see that there's just packing tape on this leading edge right here, and that leads right up to the spar, and then that's it. It's a sharp drop off. So similar to the KF airfoil, but we're going to see how this thing works. I'm also trying out my 4-cell battery on here, so this thing should be pretty zippy. Let's give it a try. I don't know what was going on out at the field today trying to fly this plane. The plane was actually flying fairly well, pretty slow. So I think that these were working pretty good. And the wind was a little bit gusty today, but I was getting a little discouraged that this kind of airfoil setup that I've got was possibly leading to some sort of tip stall. So I'm going to go back to just a flat wing with one piece of barbecue skewer on top and see how that flies. And I think something else that was causing me problems was that I had the motor mounted so far back. Now I did this because I wanted to use a 4-cell battery on this jet to make it really fast, but I was definitely getting some funky flight characteristics with the plane the way it was. I really like this foam board. I think it does fine, even though it's not quite as stiff as the high quality stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and rebuild this jet one more time. Pretty much just put it back to the way I had it originally, except that it's scaled down and made with lighter weight foam, and do it so that I can use the 3-cell battery that I had before. And I think it's going to fly just fine. So stay tuned and let's see how it goes. And of course, once I get everything finished, I'll make some nice free PDF plans for you guys to make this jet on your own.